So after receiving a couple of comments saying they didn't like it that I waffled, I thought I'd spend the first minute of this video waffling about two things I saw that amused me regardless. The first being the pride pedosexual flag, which looks like baby colours, how appropriate. But also that symbol. Reminds me of the Ultramarines. Am I the only one thinking an exterminatus would be good around about now? And the second thing, it popped up on my phone as a news alert that Brendan Urie, singer for Panic at the Disco, has come out as pansexual. While he is well within his right to identify however which way he chooses, I am well within my right to mock him, because by doing what he does, he only legitimizes those that identify as non-binary, and I think they're fucking stupid. Have I wasted a minute of your time yet? Fantastic. Moving on. The subject of today's video is going to be an article that I noticed before I saw it being covered by the Ghost Poo podcast, where a drunk driver escaped jail for the 4th time after blaming the incident on an abortion and her dyslexia. Now, I did some thinking, long and hard, and I tried to understand how dyslexia made it so that you failed 4 times and somehow didn't go to jail, or have your license taken away indefinitely. And 2 thoughts came to my mind. The first one was actually posted to me by a patron, where they said that maybe that person was obsessing over a registration plate because they thought they could see a word within it, whereas I thought that perhaps their comprehension ability was so low they couldn't understand that by making the same mistake repeatedly, they were basically the definition of insanity. Anyway, Naomi Kaneko, 31, was found slumped at the wheel of her car with a mobile phone in her hand and a bottle of wine in the footwell after police were called to reports of an intoxicated female one evening in March. A breath test reading showed 120 milligrams when the legal limit is 35. Sounds to me like she was just trying to sleep it off then. But good on her for having so much in her system. I joke, as long as she wasn't driving. Although if she was in the car and didn't want to drive, she could have been in the passenger seat and not in the driver's seat. And as a BMW 320 is a saloon vehicle, she could have slept in the back. Granted, emotional turmoil of an abortion might have made her make a poor decision, and of course being intoxicated means she may have already been driving. But if one has the possibility to try and avoid getting arrested, it'd be reasonable to go out of your way to try and get into the back of the car, so you're not in any way going to endanger someone. I don't know why I'm trying to help her though. Officers said Kaneko, who was just 380 yards from her apartment in Hale, was very, very incoherent as they asked her to get out of the car. Imagine my shock. 120 milligrams isn't exactly a low amount. Manchester magistrates heard that the therapist who is studying an MSc in psychology, there's something amusing about that, claimed she had been drinking after attending an abortion clinic to end an unexpected pregnancy at the request of her boyfriend. Well, if she didn't want to, she could have said no. I'm not gonna. Moving on. She also said she was suffering stress after being diagnosed with dyslexia. I just want to make this clear now. If it is comprehension based, you shouldn't let being diagnosed stress you, because now you know what the problem is. There are ways around it. There are ways to adapt. You suffering stress because of it tells me you are unable to adapt to it, because for some reason you think that stops you, stymies you, prevents you from achieving whatever success it is you want to achieve. The court heard she was convicted of drink driving 3 times in 2015, but was spared imprisonment on each occasion. A probation report said she said at the time of the offence she was experiencing a lot of extreme trauma following the termination of her pregnancy, and she was dealing with that at the time of the offence. I might be the only person that thinks this, but the fact you went to the termination clinic and had it done either means you are kowtowing to an abusive boyfriend, or you knowingly made the decision and came to terms with it, which therefore means to me I don't see it as much of an excuse, more a scapegoat. She felt she should have looked for assistance instead of turning to alcohol. Her partner did not wish for her to keep the baby, and she felt she should have taken more time to decide. If the possibility was there to do that, then of course she should have. No one wants to rush that kind of decision. Again though, you made the final decision. The final decision was yours to make. The court also heard that Kaneko has a 9-year-old with her ex-husband, where there was said to be some domestic abuse. I know that this happens a lot, and courts like to use previous history as a way to then ascertain whether the person is more suited to prison or to another form of rehabilitation. But I think it's quite unfair when the person has made the same mistake 4 times. She does have previous convictions for drink driving, but she suffers with anxiety and has since been diagnosed with PTS. She has been referred to counselling, and due to a long waiting list on the NHS, she pays privately for it. She volunteers once a week in the detoxification ward of a hospital in Prestwich. She also works as a support worker where she helps others with their own issues. For some reason I always find it somewhat weird that somebody who has the very problem and is still experiencing that problem is somehow put into a position where they can then help other people, but seem incapable of helping themselves at the same time. Perhaps I'm being narrow-minded on that. Passing sentence. Judge James Hatton told Kaneko, "Unfortunately for you, your record of previous convictions is disgraceful." Agreed. There are 3 separate offences of drink driving in 2015, and these are offences where custody would be appropriate. There's a H missing. But I have seen many letters to suggest you're getting help for your personal circumstances. Those alone would not be sufficient to persuade me against a custodial sentence, but my main concerns are about your daughter, and what will happen to her should you be sent to prison. Of course. Let me tell you what happens. If the father is considered or deemed unfit to be the full-time parent, the child then goes to a godparent, or to her parents if she's on good terms with them, or into care. This woman has shown herself incapable of trying to battle her demons. Now granted, there are some mitigating factors. I'll agree, domestic abuse, post-traumatic syndrome, not ideal. But she has committed the same crime 4 times. You have conceded that the letters and dealing with your issues were not enough, and it was only a 9-year-old daughter that stopped you from sending her to prison. That, to me, is wrong. And as far as I'm concerned, you are not doling out the correct justice. I know we don't like separating children from families, but the woman has shown herself, while maybe being a good parent in all other aspects, to being just about weak enough to let go of herself, which means she is then, at that moment, not a parent, an abuser of a substance, and a terrible driver, and frequent disobeyer of the law. So basically the judge ended up suspending the sentence. Kaneko was also ordered to complete 150 hours of unpaid work and pay a mere £200 in costs. On a slight positive though, she was banned from driving for 5 years, which is fantastic. Either sell the car or get it sawn. Quite frankly, at this point, sell it. It's not like that car will be any good in 5 years' time anyway. Now, just to conclude on drink driving as a whole, there is a law for this. In our country, being in charge of a vehicle while above the legal limit or unfit through drink, you can get 3 months in prison, £2,500 fine, or a possible driving ban. She got a 5-year ban, £200 fine, no prison. As far as I'm concerned, I would up the fine, and I'd stick her in the ISO cubes for 3 months, provided there was somewhere the child could be sent. I would also encourage her to then earn the right to be that kid's mother again. The main priority of any parent is to their child. We all have demons. Everyone has baggage, and I get some cannot simply be overcome. I get it. I'm not a parent, but I get the concept of struggle. But one must always focus on the most important thing in your life, and it is not that your life continue, it is that the people that rely on you get the very best out of you for as long as they can. That message seemed darker than I thought. Anyway, I hope everyone has a lovely Sunday. I also hope it's not muggy. Also, fuck you Sith, 2-0, that's right. And thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your ass.
Imagine my shock